Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to this spooky room. I am the spooky host of the Spooky Podcast. I'm Spooky Michael, and I am joined digitally in a kind of spooky way by the man who has been called the original Sam Hain of Irish podcasting. It's Ben.
Hello. I am the American bloody anglicization of a lovely Celtic holiday. Yes, Samuel Hain.
That's Samuel J. Hain. Sam Hain is really catching on. I'm hearing it in more and more places.
Don't like it.
No,
sound.
we're against it.
It's
you know
sound.
what you know what we're not against.
What are we
though?
not against?
The theme music.
Theme music for the podcast. We don't actually have any theme music, but I hope someone will make some up for us. I don't wanna name any names. Rachel, I hope it's Rachel.
That
was obnoxiously loud, Ben.
It's a special horror-themed intake of breath for a special kind of horror-y episode this week, Michael.
Very, very, very good. Ben, we have had some listener emails this week.
Have we? Have we, Michael?
We have actually had several listener emails, Ben.
Oh, my goodness.
But I think the most pressing email is in relation to last week's discussion of Daredevil.
Oh, no.
Because people were pointing out that the main character, the secondary antagonist, the one who will in the future become Bullseye, his name is Ben Poindexter.
Yes.
And many of our listeners were disappointed that I didn't call you a Poindexter enough when talking about the character Ben Poindexter.
Is this one of these things where you say it's an email, but it's actually something you just want to do more and need license from an outside party to do?
Mike from Saskatchewan Mike, he said, "Hey guys, sorry I haven't been around recently, you hoosers."
He hadn't been
What's
a boot
the
lately.
deal? A boot, yeah. What's the deal with not calling Ben Poindexter when talking about the character Ben Poindexter, eh?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yours sincerely, Saskatchewan Mike.
That's fair. Mike's always had an ear for what listeners want, so we should probably just go back to that.
Ben, in somewhat tangentially related news, I have finished watching Daredevil Season 3, and I tell you what, Ben, it was fucking excellent.
It was fucking excellent, Michael.
It was, Benjamin. And you know, I don't like to swear unless I'm really driving home a point.
That's high praise.
It's a very good series, Ben. I strongly recommend you watch it and enjoy it.
I suppose I shall have to, Michael. I suppose I shall have to. I've rarely heard you give a fuck review.
Sorry, say that again?
I rarely heard you give a fuck review, so, you know.
I know. Mixed fuck reviews. It's our new segment. Benjamin, it starts very slowly. And there's lots of Catholic guilt.
Classic.
There's lots of, as you remember last week I pointed out, there's lots of, is he going to tell his friends that he's alive? And we see them going about their business thinking he's dead and all of that drudgery. But when it kicks off, Ben, it kicks off big style.
Boy, oh boy, does Daredevil have his day.
Ben, it really harkens back to what we all loved about Daredevil Season 1 and why we were all so excited about these Netflix series.
About this whole Netflix land of opportunity.
Quality storytelling with interesting characters and good superheroics.
Oh, good grief.
But a little bit different from the films.
Oh, good grief. That's everything we've ever wanted.
Yeah, and
right.
Ben Poindexter, who reminds me of you because your name is Ben and you're a Poindexter, is a very interesting character. I got you, Ben.
You got me.
For the listeners.
Mike is rolling around in glee.
Ben, in side news, I'm going to a wedding tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
And as you remember, Ben, a mere week and a half ago, I shaved my head to be Jason Statham from The Meg.
You did.
So I'm going to a wedding and I needed to buy a new suit. So I went to the suit shop. And as I was trying on my suit, I realized I was a bald man in a three-piece suit. And I looked in the mirror and I thought briefly that it was the Kingpin looking back at me.
Oh, excellent. I thought you were going to make a transporter joke because it was Jason Statham.
No,
thing.
I'm much heavier than Jason Statham.
Oh, okay.
I have spent the rest of the week calling my lovely lady partner Vanessa.
Oh, I'm sure she loves that. She loves when you entangle her in, well, I was going to say entangle her in your bits, but we should probably not say that.
Very good. Yeah, entangle her in my bits.
Yeah.
Benjamin, speaking of listener emails, we had a lot of comments and mails about our topic last week about shows that end too early.
Yeah, we got some feedback there. Some lovely feedback.
Yeah, some people. Regular commenter and friend of the show, Kron, pointed out
Kron?
that the Thundercats series.
Thundercats.
Very good. I don't know if that's really...
No, it's not accurate at all. I just felt like saying Thundercats in a slightly pitched voice.
Yeah, just shout Thundercats.
Thundercats!
Right into your mic there. Terrify some people. Not even accurate. Kieran...
Go on.
He was kind of pointing out that he was hoping for a Daughters of the Dragon series, which we also thought would be good.
It would have been good, but now that Netflix is just severing ties all over the place.
Yeah.
Apparently,
Look, Ben,
creative differences. Nothing to do with viewership, nothing to do with anything else, but apparently, according to the powers that be...
Don't believe it. Don't believe
it. Okay, fair.
It's Netflix and Disney
parting ways.
Severing ties. With a bit of luck, they'll all hop over to the new Disney streaming and we'll get a Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Colleen Wing, Misty Knight, Heroes for Hire series with the four of them.
That'd be alright.
Ideal. That'd be good.
That'd be alright. But
it'd be good, wouldn't it, Ben? You'd enjoy that.
I'd much rather see a Colleen Wing come to the fore and a Finn Jones just slowly phased out for a better actor.
Leave him alone, Ben.
No, I'm never going to leave Finn Jones alone. I think
leave Finn Jones alone.
Look, you get to call me Poindexter. I got to call him a twerp. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I would like to see you physically fight Finn Jones, not the character Iron Fist, just Finn Jones.
Hang on, Michael. We both know I'd lose. We both know
I don't know how that'd go. He looks like he smokes Rolly cigarettes.
He does. I would catch him as he slowly began to furl one betwixt his thin, wafy thespian fingers.
Exactly. Benjamin, also old friend of the podcast and who might come back soon, Coach Clive.
Oh, Clive.
He said
Coach
that
Clive.
A show that he missed was Dark Skies.
You'll have to help me out there now.
Dark Skies, Ben, was a time... I think it was set in the 60s.
I see.
And it was kind of an X-Files set in the 60s, but a bit sexier because it had Jerry Ryan in it.
Oh, Jerry Ryan.
Not Jerry Ryan, the Irish radio presenter.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, Jerry Ryan, the sexy lady from Star Trek Voyager.
Star Trek Voyager, who had an early Bluetooth device strapped to her eyebrow.
That's a very good point, Ben. That does look like an early Bluetooth device. Are you saying that the Bluetooth technology is what will eventually lead us down the path to becoming the Borg?
The Borg, yeah, but it's okay because we'll have a crisis of conscience and join the Star Trek fleet in order to go against our once former masters. It'll be nice.
Very good, Ben.
It'll be very nice.
Good. Benjamin.
Yeah.
Speaking of television shows, have you seen any?
I have.
Bearing in mind, Ben, that I know you have, and that this is a segue.
It's a conceit. Michael, you last week or the week before, I'm not entirely sure which of the weeks. The weeks are blending, Michael.
Ben,
it's tough.
What is time?
What is time?
Time is just a construct of the human mind.
And it's a bloody vexing one at the moment. It's flying by, Michael. But you recommended that I go and take a look at the wonderful, wonderful Titans. And I've done just that, Michael. It's...
Yep.
Very good.
Did you enjoy it, Ben?
I'm enjoying it thoroughly, Michael.
Oh, as much as I enjoyed Daredevil.
I can't really measure because I didn't get to watch your gleeful face as Daredevil whooped some
It
bad
looked
guy
like this,
butt.
Ben.
Oh wow, that is quite gleeful. I would say it's probably equal. I've really enjoyed it. It is single-handedly in 2 episodes better than any of the CW stuff I've watched.
Oh,
in the DC verse.
Oh, get out of here!
They've gone with the dark tone, Michael. I won't lie. There's not a lot of levity going on. There's not a lot, but it's good. It's good. It's tongue in cheek in places. We have lots of things like I enjoyed in episode 2. There's a wonderful line from the coroner to one of the detectives.
Now, Ben, fill in the listeners. Is the coroner a superhero?
The coroner is not a superhero. That's actually a thing you have to do with any kind of definite article in superhero worlds.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
The coroner with the ability to diagnose what happened to people but not actually save them.
The desk lamp, shedding light on any situation.
You do actually have to do that in every superhero verse. But what I really, really, really enjoyed was he has a line where he's like, "Hey, detective, watch yourself out there. It doesn't feel right." And then your one kind of goes, "Okay." And she takes it really seriously. He goes, "Nah, I'm just fucking with you." Like, you should have seen your face. So there's some tongue-in-cheek moments there, and I really enjoy that. Doing a great job of introducing kind of unusual Silver Age villains and actually making them cool. They're not trying to give them a silly costume or a dark, broody background. Right. For example, the nuclear family has made an appearance in Titan Season 2.
Ben, I've never heard of them. Episode 2.
Sorry, Titans episode 2, season 1. The nuclear family is a weird bunch of androids that quite literally are radioactive and have various radioactivity based powers.
They'll give you cancer.
Yeah, and it's a mom pop bro cis dog combination. There's Big Brother.
Like the recent Vision family by Matt Fraction.
Exactly the same, but these were psychotic killing robots. So it's very interesting. And they brought them in. We've gotten to see Hawk and Dove, and none other than bloody. I have his name written down here for this exact comment. None other than Alan Richardson has made a reappearance into the DC world. You may remember Alan Richardson as the original Aquaman in Smallville.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, he's back as Hawk. And I remember looking at him in the mask going, I wonder who's playing Hawk. To fill people in, Hawk and Dove are a duo that are in the Marvel comics, or in the DC comics, in the DC comics, and they are a crime-fighting duo. Hawk is kind of the more brutal, hard-hitting character, and Dove is the kind of peaceful, diplomatic character. And it's an interesting combination of two things, but they've made an appearance in Titans. They're not superpowered this time. They're just a pair of crime-fighting duos, and they have a link to Robin from his past, kind of when he would run off and do a little bit of crime fighting himself. But I remember looking at the very strong jawline going, I know that ridiculously superheroic jawline. And it was bloody Alan Richardson. I was delighted to see him back. He's very good. It's very moody. It's kind of silly. But the production values are bloody great. The cinematography is strong. The tone is consistent. Yeah.
The demon that comes flying out of Raven is pretty spooky.
It's pretty spooky. Like, it's pretty off-putting in places.
Ben, what did you think of the most controversial thing, Starfire?
Starfire's a bit silly. She's not in episode 2, Michael.
Oh, really?
She's not in episode 2. We focus mainly on Robin and Raven, or Robin and Rachel, as she's been called in this.
Doesn't the costume and the hair work a lot better in the dark tone, though, than it seemed like it would in the production photos?
I never thought that Vienna would be such a suitable setting for her, but that strange kitsch Eurotrash thing fits Vienna very well. I'm looking forward to episode 3. I'm going to watch it right after this with my newly purchased DC Universe online subscription. Nobody sue me.
Very good.
And season 4 has teased a look at Doom Patrol, the first look at Doom Patrol, because anybody who's a major
episode 4, Ben.
Episode 4. I keep saying season.
You're upsetting me.
Episode 4, because as anybody who knows Beast Boy very well, he was originally in the Doom Patrol.
He's green. He's green when he turns into animals.
And that's how he's going to be introduced into bloody DC Universe Online and the Titans.
Ben?
Yeah.
Can I do a quick mix retractions?
Yeah, go on.
It wasn't Matt Fraction, it was Tom King. My friend Tom King. No, not my friend Tom King.
Not your
the
friend
writer
Tom King. Oh, instantaneous mixed retractions. Mixed retractions, not as fun as Ben's.
I said it, Ben, and I said, you know what I said to myself? I said, I've said that very confidently, and I'm pretty sure I'm wrong.
And lo and behold, listeners, Mick has always been the one with a bit more humility than I. You'll notice that when I say something definitively, I swear by it until I'm caught out. That's why we have a section. That's why we have a dedicated
Ben,
section
you are
called
the
Ben's
only person in the world who I have more humility than. This is probably a bad combination, I'm thinking now. Maybe we shouldn't do a podcast together. Benjamin.
Yeah.
Now that you've recommended bloody Titans, what else are we talking about?
Michael, so one of the interesting things that came up in the news quite recently, Michael, is The Simpsons.
Israel.
Is in trouble.
Oh, The Simpsons.
For some reason, a show that's been in the air, I think, longer than I've been alive.
30 years?
Yeah, longer than I've been alive. Is suddenly being called into question for a character that they view to be racially prejudiced and a bit silly.
Racially prejudiced?
No, not racially prejudiced. It has nothing against Rachel. He would
Rachel.
He would listen to the episode Never Go Back featuring the wonderful Rachel, which listeners can find in the backlog there. Go take a listen. See that seamless cross promotion, Michael.
Not seamless if you point it out, Ben. Never seamless if you point it out.
Okay, never mind. I tried though. I'm just not as good as you. Those seamless segues. Look. I long for them, Michael, and I can't get them. But yeah, Apu. the famous Quickie Mart Apu, voiced by Hank Azaria, is to be dropped from the show.
Or has been already.
Well, yeah, but I think they're to make up their official kind of reason for dropping him. And I was looking at some of the reaction to this, and one Redditor made an excellent point.
Go on, then. You love a Reddit.
I do. One Redditor made an excellent point. If you remove one of the Simpsons characters for being racially biased or, a little bit insensitive, you're pretty much going to have to drop the show. Because
that's a fair point, I suppose.
You have Apu, who is a parody of an Indian
Indian shopkeeper from the 70s.
Yeah, an Indian national. But you have Groundskeeper Willie, who is a parody of a Scottish national.
Yeah, that's true.
You have...
I like how you're using the word Scottish national, like you're keeping it PC,
even
though the show isn't.
Well, we won't say a Scottish man, Michael, because there are Scottish women. And we won't say an Indian man, Michael, because there are Indian women.
But Apu is very definitely an Indian man.
Well, look,
he has children. He has put his penis in his wife. I can't remember her name. And had... Geeta? Is her name Geeta?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't pay attention to minority characters, as you know, Michael.
No, very good.
I'm a bigot.
Yeah, I mean, Chief Clancy Wiggum is an ugly Irishman.
An ugly Irishman. You have Cletus, who's a parody of Rednecks.
Slack-jawed yokel.
You have, like, once you start picking your way through Simpsons characters based on a little bit of insensitivity, you're just going to have to fold the show in.
That's an interesting point, Ben.
It's got, like, you can't just start and, he then...
Although, not all the characters are stereotypes.
No, that's true. But then, of course, his comment spiraled, sadly, and people were like, oh, of course they get really sensitive about the person who's not white, and I was just like, okay, all right, this thread's done. Never mind. Okay.
So has this all stemmed from Adi Shankar?
The person who pointed it out originally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is all kind of...
he's the famous creator of the Bootleg Universe YouTube channel.
Yes.
And he had a competition asking for scripts to kind of adapt Apu, to do a shift in Apu's life that modernizes him.
Yeah, it was so I think it's all come from that, but I think they're just dropping the character now, so I don't think it's going to go very well. It's interesting. I think Hank Azaria is having a very tough time with it. He's given a couple of interviews where he can't believe that it's kind of... I think what he's finding difficult more than anything is that he's been doing it for close to 30 years.
Yeah. Why did no one tell me?
That's the thing. I don't think anyone ever considered that it was a white guy doing the voice. Do you know what I mean? Like, Apu was just Apu. Obviously, it was slightly exaggerated and a little bit racist, but...
I think I don't have a problem with whatever color of skin the voice actor has in relation to the cartoon characters that they're voicing. I don't think that really matters. It might matter to people who are more invested in... I'm not saying I'm not invested in representation, but I mean, if there's a white character and a black actor is voicing it, that wouldn't make any difference to me.
Well, I mean, then you look at characters, but you look at the one of the big qualms is like the affectation of an accent that's strong. But then you have to look at people like Chadwick Boseman playing Black Panther. He's from South Carolina.
Well, Wakanda's fictional.
It's a heavily affected African accent. And then you have other examples like I hate loathe be to me for bringing this up on our wonderful podcast.
Hold on. Does that mean you're playing the Devil's Avocado?
I suppose we are playing Devil's Avocado.
Yay! Let me use the graphic again.
Yeah, we can pop it in there. Bloody Big Bang Theory has Raj.
I think that's pretty close to Raj's real voice.
It's not. Raj is quite American in real life. The actor that plays Raj is quite American. You can see him in interviews.
So he Indians it up for the role.
Yeah.
But he's an actual Indian man, so that's fine.
See, here you go. Like
or Wilmer Valderrama in that 70s show.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. He gave himself a lisp.
Although Wilmer Valderrama is ridiculous,
and the lisp community is furious.
The lisp community.
This is an outrage.
Imagine the lisp community. That'd be good.
Yeah,
Benjamin. Before I start doing a lisp, let's bloody well move on out of that.
Bloody minefield. Mosey on out of that town.
Ben, as you know, tomorrow or Wednesday is Halloween.
Halloween.
So, being easily led and enjoying a theme, I went to see the film Halloween.
Which is set to top the box office for a second week in a row this weekend.
Yes, it's smashing box office records. I think it's going to be one of the most successful horror films ever made. Horror is having a kind of resurgence, Ben, but it's a nostalgia-based resurgence. I think things like It and Halloween are leading the charge.
I think all the 80s kids just have a bunch of kids of their own and are a bit jaded and just want stuff that's theirs again.
All right, okay, fair enough. Lay off.
They want to come back to it.
Ben,
yeah.
here's the thing about Halloween.
Go on.
It's certainly not the first film to do this, but I think it's the first in what's going to be a new trend, because we're seeing a few more of them coming up soon. It's a sequel that ignores the previous 9 sequels.
Good. Because those Halloween sequels were fucking shit.
No, not universally. They're not universally shit. Some of them are mildly entertaining or add interesting things to the mythos, Ben.
But we've scrubbed the mythos now, I suppose.
Well, that's the point, yeah. They scrubbed it whole hog. For example, in the movie, someone says, "Isn't Michael Myers your grandmother's brother?" And the lead, the main scream teen of the film says, No, that's just something people made up.
Nice.
So there's even a little dig at all the other, little tangential anecdote here, Ben, from my life.
Go on.
I was talking to a friend recently, and he said, I can't believe Halloween H2O was 20 years ago. And I said, don't be ridiculous, that was 6 or 7 years ago. Because it was 20 years after the original Halloween. But 20 years after the original Halloween, Ben, was 1998.
Oh dear.
Which was, I think you'll find, 20 years ago.
Did you have a tough week?
Look, I hate being wrong, but bloody 40 years, Ben. So yeah, it's a direct sequel to the first one, and the first one only.
Can I just stop you there for a quick second, Michael? Is there any way that we could possibly softly insert Hello Darkness, My Old Friend into that last little segment without being copyright struck?
Oh, bloody give it a shot.
But yeah, go on anyway. Sorry, it's a sequel to the original.
It's a sequel to the original, but only the original. A direct sequel to the original.
Okay.
And, Ben, let me tell you, Ben, it's quite a good film.
Oh, good. We're having a good week this week. We're having a good, not disappointing pop culture week. I'm very happy.
Well, Ben, I think one of the things I like about Michael and Benjamin's podcast is that we are relatively positive.
Well, we do,
especially in an internet context.
Yeah, we could shit all over stuff, but who has the energy?
Not me, Ben. I'm 36 now.
And we have jobs.
Oh, thanks to everyone for the happy birthday wishes, by the way. We got some emails and some people sent us some Insta messages of them singing happy birthday to me.
Aw, it worked, guys.
Yeah, I think my favorite one was someone who sang happy birthday to me to the theme of our theme music.
Oh, that's amazing. Who sent that gem in?
I'll show you next week.
Excellent.
It was very good. Benjamin.
Yes.
What were we saying? Yes, it's a good film.
Yes.
Is it a scary film, Ben? Not really.
Is it a bit tongue-in-cheek, Michael?
No, it's not that tongue-in-cheek. There's a great character of a kid who's being babysat.
Classic.
And he adds a lot of levity to it. He only has 1 or 2 scenes, but he's hilarious. But the thing about Halloween, Ben, is it's very old-fashioned in a lot of ways. It's essentially just a man with a knife.
Yes, it's classic.
And he's somewhat unstoppable, but not completely unstoppable. A gun will still kill him.
Is he supernatural? Not supernatural.
He's definitely too strong that it doesn't make sense for a man who would be in his 60s.
He's quite old now.
Yeah, he's quite old now. But he does... he can't easily physically overpower aging actress Jamie Lee Curtis. So
God bless her.
He can pick a man up by the neck, but I can pick a man up by the neck. His supernatural powers vary wildly, to be honest, depending on what the scene needs.
Well, I mean, that's always a convenient kind of thing, varying power levels for convenience.
Exactly, yeah.
There's actually... Interesting you should mention that. There's an incident of that in Titans episode 2. Where Raven's demonic entity doesn't help her in a situation where it would be very useful. And I was just kind of left there going, demons. Surely they're going to have another scene here where... Nope.
That's it. So, Ben, look, it's a good film. It's very tense.
Good.
The music is great because they got John Carpenter back to do the music.
No way.
But not to direct. yeah, overall it's a good film. It's not, it doesn't bring anything new to the horror table. Like, it doesn't have any surprise. There is a twist in it, but the twist is pretty obvious.
Okay.
Look, I'm gonna spoil the twist in
Quick
10 seconds.
Spoiler warning.
Yeah, we'll do a quick spoiler warning here. I'm about to spoil the twist in Halloween, the new Halloween,
Fair
not
enough.
the old Halloween. But don't worry, because it doesn't really matter. The doctor, Ben,
Yeah.
the doctor who's been treating Michael Myers turns out to be, in a kind of Harley Quinn-esque way, obsessed with him
Oh, okay.
and is instrumental in his, not his escape, but his continuing rampage. And I went to see this film, Ben, and as we were watching it, he had a kind of sinister vibe to him. And my lovely lady friend leaned over and said, "Dead or Baldy?"
Yeah, he was a
And then I said,
Baldy.
I said, "Probably a Baldy." And she says, "Look at him. He's wearing black eyeliner."
Who played him?
I don't know. I think it looked like a Hungarian name to me. I'm not familiar with the gentleman's work.
Okay, fair enough.
But he was Dr. Loomis for the new generation, because
nice.
the guy who played Dr. Loomis is dead.
Oh.
But yeah, so he wears black eyeliner. He's clearly evil. There's no surprise when he turns out evil.
Not a major shock there.
Yeah. So, it's a good. It's still. It sounds like I'm ragging on it, but it's a good film. It's good and tense. The kills are nice and bloody. There are a couple of characters who you have a bit of sympathy for, and you don't want them to die.
Nice.
And then there are a couple of idiots. There's a continuing trend, Ben, in the world of modern movies of making fun of podcasts.
Yeah.
And this is one of the best examples of that.
Oh, do some podcasters die?
Yeah, of course they do.
Fair enough. Well, we probably deserve it. We're a bad bunch of eggs. All around. We're just awful. But yeah, give us a listen, give us a subscribe. Just click down below, leave us a review on iTunes.
Benjamin,
yeah.
Let's bloody well move on.
Well, Michael, look, this week, for some bizarre reason, Michael, I seem to have a kind of selective amnesia, and I forget that horror movies scare the living shit out of me.
Right. Does your shit actually come to life?
It comes to
and
life.
become a demon, like the
It comes to
Golgothan
life.
shit demon?
No, it runs away just ahead of me as I run away from whatever I've seen. I have this thing where I'm like, why don't we do... Michael, I sent you a text about 2 weeks ago.
You did, Ben, I remember.
And I said, Michael, what do you think? Will we find some independent horror short films on the YouTube, the tube of you, and shall we review them for the podcast? And naturally, Michael, you being the gregarious horror fan that you are, said, righto,
Yes.
on we crack. And
Yes, that sounds great.
For some reason, Michael, I completely forgot the part of my brain that says, fuck no, why would I do this to myself? And I've spent the week
how did that go?
in abject horror in a new apartment that I'm not that comfortable in yet, watching fucking horror movies on YouTube. I have fucking unnerved myself. Take a look at the bags under my eyes, Michael. Only you can see this. But look at this.
Yeah, look at that.
I haven't
visual
been
goal.
having a good time. These aren't good time eye bags. Oh no.
Ben, just as a kind of slight aside, what's that behind you there? Just at the door.
Very fucking funny. Very fucking funny, Michael. Not falling for it. It is very dark in here now that you pointed out, though. Fuck you.
Yeah. There's
but
a kind of shape there.
anyway,
behind you. I
stop
don't
it.
know what it is.
Stop it. If there's one thing that a bloody independent YouTube horror film likes, it's a bloody unexplained cryptid. It's a bloody malevolent presence. Oh, fuck me.
Malevolent presence.
I've had a
Very
terrible
good.
week.
Benjamin, so why did we do it then if you bloody hated so much?
Well, that's what got me thinking, Michael. So I've been doing a bit of research this week, and one of the people that I found that really covers this topic in depth is a guy called Dr.
Oh God,
Steven...
I hope it's not Nietzsche.
No, it's not. No, Dr. Steven Schlotzman is his name.
That's fake.
He's a Harvard professor, and he gives a wonderful TEDx talk, which we may link down below on the YouTube thing.
Only if you send the link to me, Ben.
Yes. Also, I thought in the spirit of what we're doing, we would compile all the horror shorts we've watched this week into a little YouTube playlist that we will leave
very good.
on our page for our viewers to find. So if you want to see any of the films that we review today, it will be down below. But back to Steven Schlotzman. Steven Schlotzman is a child psychiatrist who also doubles as a massive horror enthusiast, and he's done a lot of research into what pushes this. And I watched another gentleman from, I think it was Denver University, whose name escapes me, I'm dreadfully sorry, and he also takes a look at this kind of thing. So there seem to be two schools of thoughts on why we watch horror films. One of the schools of thoughts is that we do it to escape what's called habituation. You're a former biologist.
Boringness.
I'm assuming you understand what habituation is. Would you like to pitch what it is, or do you know what it is? Or
No, Ben, you go ahead there, because
Okay.
I did not catch that last sentence, because our internet connection went a bit
Oh,
funny.
I'm very sorry. Habituation, Michael, is basically what happens to any organism if it's exposed to something for any length of time. It becomes the normal. Your kind of your reflex to it or your response to it is dulled over consistent exposure. And habituation is kind of a flaw in humans because when we habituate, I'm assuming that's the correct way of saying it, we then seek to push that envelope a little bit further.
It's also been how ambushed predators will kill you.
Really?
Because if you walk by a bush the very first time you've ever seen a bush, you'll be very cautious of it. But if you walk by a bush 100 times, you just walk by it thinking it's a bush. But this time it's not a bush, it's a fucking tiger!
Michael, you are just... Do you know what? You are really at one with the chi of segue because you just have it. You've just given me a segue and you don't even know
Sorry,
it.
Ben. Sorry, sorry.
It's okay. What's wrong?
It's a fucking tiger!
It's a... Anyway, moving on from there to you, who's just given me a fantastic segue. The other school of thought is that we use it to explore taboo topics that we can't really do. So in one school of thought, we have habituation, which is where we look at something and we want to push the envelope a little further. For some people, that means skydiving and then base jumping. For other people, it means watching an occasional scary movie.
Exactly.
It's a way to challenge habituation and a way to shake things up and get all those fun little oxytocin and dopamine release things kicking off. It's a fun way to do it. A fun, safe way to scare the shit out of yourself.
Good, exactly.
But the other one that I find more interesting, Michael, because it deals with bloody tropes, is
Nietzsche,
exploring new territory. And this is what's explored in that Schlotzman interview. And he very much follows the habituation thing. What's important for us in horror movies is that we use pattern recognition to survive most things. And then one day, there's something wrong with the pattern. And it's like an exercise. So, for example... he uses Salem's Lot. Have you ever seen Salem's Lot, the Stephen King adaptation?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Stephen King, my friend Stephen King, or the author Stephen King?
No, the author Stephen King, Michael. The author Stephen King. Although, I don't know, did your friend Stephen King write something called Salem's Lot?
No.
No, okay, fair enough.
Now that you point that out, it was kind of silly of me to bring it up.
It's probably the other guy then. So... in this particular movie, there's a scene with two brothers, and you're not supposed to go into the woods, but they're late for curfew, and they have to take a shortcut through the woods to get back to the house. Okay? These are spoilers for a very old film, by the way.
Yeah, it's fine. Spoilers for everything this week.
Anyway, Big Brother is able to push all the stuff out of the way, get through the forest. He gets to the back of the garden. The forest ends at the back garden. Okay?
Yep.
And they go in and they do that. Stephen King loves a big spooky forest. Big bad forest. Pet cemetery as well. It's a whole thing.
Almost as much as he loves a New England town.
Called Maine. So he realizes his brother is gone. Goes into the parents, tells the parents, shit, I lost my little brother in the woods that we're not supposed to go into. Sorry, we were late. Didn't want to be late. The parents have a little bitch fit, and they
Typical parents.
they go off into the woods to find their lost son. Now that I say it out loud, is a perfectly reasonable response. But then what happens? The brother is left at home alone, and who should knock on the window but his brother?
Oh,
his brother. But this time, Michael, his brother is a vampire. Because he was attacked in the forest and turned into a vampire. And so what's really interesting here is and the example he gives is, this is a way for us to look at a very taboo topic. What if your brother, someone you were related to, was a Trump supporter and you weren't?
Was it what?
Was a Trump supporter and you weren't?
Well,
what if someone...
I don't want to say anything.
No. What if your brother was a criminal and you weren't? Okay, you can take it whatever way you want.
All right. Imagine that.
And what point do you cut that person out of your life? Because he goes to open this window, the brother goes to open the window, and he recognizes that something is wrong with his brother. His brother has slightly yellow eyes now. That's wrong.
Right.
Okay, so the pattern recognition thing is kicked in. But at the same time, he's always going to open that window because it's his brother.
Yeah.
Do you understand? The
Idiot.
blood bond
And
is there.
And he doesn't know he's in a horror film.
And he doesn't know he's in a horror film. That's the other thing that happens there. But that's interesting. Another example that he gives, and one that I found really fascinating, is Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Who's the bad guy?
Society.
Exactly, Michael. Oh, well played, Michael. You've nipped me at the tip. I had a
horrific image.
I had a whole bit to go into there. But generally speaking, Freddy Krueger is a demon that invades people's nightmares. Turns out he was a bit of a paedophile in real life. Not a bit of a paedophile.
Wasn't. Not in the original.
No, not in the original.
Just a child killer.
Just a child killer. Ah, sorry. Not a paedophile. Just a child killer.
Just a common or garden child killer.
Anyway, he escaped justice on a technicality in the original film. This is all backstory that we're fed, okay? And then the town...
The parents surrounded him and threw him in the furnace.
And threw him into a furnace and burned him to death. That whole film can be looked at as an investigation into mob mentality and due process. Like, it's an interesting thing. At what point... Because we've all had that annoying friend who's like, no, execution is easy. It's the easy solution.
I killed a few kids.
Yeah.
Whatever.
All right. Yeah, we haven't had that friend. But we all have people that love to kind of bandy about. We have edgelords who are like, capital punishment, blah, blah, blah. But you have to look at how these things pan out. And horror is a way for us to deal with topics that don't really belong at the dinner table, but should be explored. Now, obviously, it's a much more exaggerated form, but part of the reason we do that, and the other reason is we love that dopamine oxytocin release. So that's what we were doing.
Benjamin, are you saying that if we brought back capital punishment, it would create an army of dream demons?
I mean, we haven't done it yet, so we don't know. So I'm not going to rule it out, Michael. I hope not.
All right.
I hope not. Well, you and I aren't teenagers, Michael, so it's fine.
Yeah, we're all right.
We're not dying in dreams.
When I first saw Freddy, Ben, and I know we were talking about this, I was 12.
Oof.
And the way I comforted myself at night was thinking, I'm not a teenager, so I'll be fine.
That's excellent. Do you know, it's interesting, Michael, that you should point that out. The average age for someone to watch their first horror movie is 11 or 12. That is the worldwide average, regardless of culture or gender. 11 or 12.
Or access to television.
Or access to television. YouTube has changed all that.
Ben,
yes.
So this week we decided, rather than watching some of the classic horror films, the classic greats, because I think we've talked about some of them before anyway. We decided to go look at some short independent masterpieces on video sharing platforms, Ben. And I sent one or two recommendations to you, and I'm wondering, Ben, as a start, did you watch the short film Lights Out?
Yeah, thanks for that.
Did you enjoy it, Ben?
Bloody bastard. I have just noticed because I did a little bit of research into this cyber genre of horror where, it's all done through webcams and stuff like that.
Everything's through the screens, yeah.
My little window looks awfully like the setup to one of them. The monster is literally going to come in from over here.
Yeah, just right behind you there.
You can see where I'm pointing it. Yeah. I'm going to screenshot this and just show people where this should be seen. This is just horrific. He's going to come from... No, wait. There we go. There. And I'm just going to print my screen. I'm putting this in the video because it just makes sense. Right there. That's what the monster's going to be. Okay? Right there.
Yeah, that's where he's going to get you.
It's going to be bloody awful.
So, Lights Out, Ben. Yeah. Many people would be familiar with Lights Out because it was a popular film from, I think, 2013.
Yes.
But before it was a film, it was a short.
Really?
And, well, are you saying really there, and are you going along with the conceit?
It was
or
a
are
conceit.
you asking me genuinely?
I watched the short.
Yeah, Ben, it was. It's only about 2.5 minutes, and it's bloody genuinely terrifying.
Oh, it's so awful. It's such a creepy creature.
It's terrifying beyond what a 90-minute movie could achieve.
Yeah.
Which I think is the point of a lot of these shorts. A lot of horror is built around one scary concept. And the scary concept of Lights Out is that moment of terror between when you turn your lights off and when you're safely in bed.
Yeah, you can't say... Yeah, exactly.
And some genius, his name's David Sandberg, but someone thought that moment when you touch the light switch and then rush back to bed, that's a good moment for horror. And unfortunately... with money making being what it is, it has to be dragged out into a 90-minute film, which is good but not as amazing.
You can't sustain a 90-minute film in the same way. I think
as soon as you go on.
I think what's wonderful about the shorts is they haunt you because they're so brief and a lot of the times unexplained. The problem with longer films is that you have to give a bunch of backstory. You have to, you have to flesh it out. Podcasting gold from Michael over there.
Look, at least I leaned away from the mic. No, you're exactly right, Ben. As soon as you start explaining things, and I don't even mean scientifically explaining it, but in that short Lights Out, we don't know what that is. If it's a ghost, if it's a demon, if it's a spook, if it's a mad woman, it doesn't matter what it is. It's creepy and terrifying. And I think when the woman, who is actually the director's wife, did you know?
I did not.
When she is in bed and she hears the footsteps running towards the door after the lights have gone off, that might be one of the most effective bits of horror ever filmed.
Yeah, it's fucking awful. Michael, I'm going to have to time out here and just switch on the small light behind me. I'm not having any shame in this. The sun's gone away. My daylight is gone. I'm not having this. I can't do it anymore. I keep seeing it. I'll be back in a second. Keep talking for the listeners.
Watch out, Ben. I think there's a bloody tiger there. Oh no, he's right. So he's going. There's a kind of disturbing presence behind him. He's now plugging in his light switch. This is internet content magic. One man describing another man who's too afraid to leave the lights off, despite being a grown adult.
That's much better.
Ben, that looks creepier than the way it was before.
No, it's not. It's not. The monsters don't come out when lights are on.
So, Ben, Lights Out was entered into a short film fest called Who's There?
Ooh.
And it didn't win, ironically enough.
Okay.
But the viral success of it led to it getting its own film, and directed David Sandberg moving to LA and making a movie out of it and stuff, which is pretty impressive.
He did very well. He did very well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was a bunch of these that kicked off. Like, that one scared the shit out of me, Michael. And then I found... Is
that why you turned the light on like a coward?
Yeah, well, look, Michael, you say coward, I say still alive. Whatever way you want to cut it, buddy, that's fine. That's fine by me. Look, you're in a nice, lovely lit room over there. I don't have that right now. I'm in a little cavern. Interesting fact, ladies and gentlemen, I'm broke in Italy, and I actually podcast from a cave. I spend all my money on a decent internet connection.
The audio quality. Ben, talk about another short film.
Another short film. Well, Michael, we'll keep with the wonderful world of apartments and things in apartments.
Go on.
I found a YouTube channel called Crypt TV. Have you heard of it?
I've never heard of it, Ben.
Crypt TV is a treasure trove of independent, well-produced shorts. All of which are horror-based.
Very nice.
It is a fantastic collection of things. Everything I talk about today will be from this collection. Now, I'm not sure how it's done. Originally, I think it was a channel that would kind of round up these shorts and put them in one place. They'd ask permission. Okay. And then slowly they've segued into producing their own material. They have a talk show and stuff like that. Some of it's excellent, Michael. One of the ones that scared the living bejesus out of me, has no explanation, is called The Thing in the Apartment. It's a very simple title. And it's about a creature that stalks around a single apartment block.
Hey, that's like where you are.
Yep. It hunts people.
Yeah.
And it eats them.
Very good.
Now, the thing that scared the living bejesus out of me, Michael, is that it doesn't like light. So it works very much
like the short Lights Out.
Exactly. So what happens is you have moments where you can't see the creature, and you know the second that light goes out, something's going to eat. And you only ever see glimpses of the creature, and it's this horrible asymmetrical lump thing with huge long fingers and big gnarly teeth, and it's just horrific. It has cat's eyes, so that's how you can track it in the dark. And one of the things that was amazing for me is the suspense they build up, because the creature can see through walls, so it hunts around rooms. Do you understand? So
like
you have
the Predator.
all these... Yeah, kind of. It's not really explained. You don't ever see anything from the monster's perspective, and I think that's what makes it worse. We only know what the character knows, the victim, and I think that helps to build that suspense. Because whenever you see from the creature's point of view, I always find that kind of jolts me out of it a little bit, because we see that something's being stalked, whereas you're not actually sure what happens. But anyway, the creature can do a couple of different things. It's very silent. It's very quick. And the other thing is, it's not confined to the apartment. So if you get out of the apartment, it will chase you.
What's that behind you, Ben?
Shut up, Michael. That's not funny. You're an ass. Anyway, this is a fantastic concept. It's done really, really well in this short. And And they look to have set it up to have more sequels. I think what's more interesting here is they do every kind of horror on this Crypt TV thing.
Existential.
They do existential. They have cosmic. They have human
Body.
horror. So they have a series called Sunny Day Cult or Sunnyside Cult. Sunnyside Family Cult or something like that. Very, very good. So they do all kinds of different horror. But the thing was just utterly terrifying because it can transfix its victims and it sees them through walls and it builds it all up through suspense in this way. It's a fantastic short. And
How long is it?
it's only about 5 minutes, 6 minutes.
No, the creature.
How tall?
Like
How
2 or 3 meters.
2 or 3? It's a big thing. It's a big. What are you?
I got you, Ben.
What's
the
that?
Classic. What's that called? Crypt TV.
Crypt TV. It's a great channel. There'll be more. I'm going to mention more after this. But go on, give me one of yours, Michael. Give me one of
Ben,
yours.
we have talked in the past about creepypasta.
Yeah, bloody creepypasta.
Creepypasta being a short story horror
Mm-hmm.
Wikipedia kind of thing, a kind of precursor in many ways to the SCP Foundation, which we've also talked about before. But Ben, one of the not incredibly popular but quite popular stories on creepypasta is called The Smiling Man.
Ugh.
And it's about a creepy man, a man who goes out for walks at night and he bumps into a creepy smiling man.
Ugh.
And if you want to search for this on YouTube, we'll probably stick it in the playlist. But there are 2 horror shorts, both called The Smiling Man. We're looking for the one called 2 a.m.
Yeah.
The Smiling Man.
There's one
And-
from Alter TV as well with a little girl. Is that the other one?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the other one. I found that less effective.
Yeah.
Because that one, it really relies on the prosthetics and the creepiness of the creature they've created, it's a very creepy creature.
Very.
But it's a bit generic. It's
Yeah.
a man. It's a kind of ugly man with monster makeup on.
They very much depend on asymmetry to make the cryptids.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
thing.
except in the case of the 2 a.m. The Smiling Man, because
Ah.
again, as I said about Lights Out, what's terrifying about 2 a.m. The Smiling Man is it's so normal.
Yeah.
It's a guy taking a walk along a street at night, a situation we've all been in, and he sees something just a bit weird.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just weird enough to be freaky, but it's terrifying, but only terrifying enough that you could still imagine yourself in the situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I find it very thematically similar to Lights Out, which is probably my favorite. But 2 a.m. The Smiling Man might be co-favorite. It even has suddenly the thing is running towards you. They're actually structurally very similar.
Well, I mean, all things have to follow that to some degree. I have found that the weaker shorts that they watch really depend on jump scares.
Well, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although both Lights Out and 2 a.m. The Smiling Man finish on a jump scare.
It's a classic. It's a classic. It's a staple of the genre.
But yeah, they both finish on a jump scare, but it's the creepy atmosphere that really lets the jump scare pay off.
Okay, fair enough.
But one of the great things behind 2 a.m. The Smiling Man is the performance of the Smiling Man. They've really got a good physical performer to do it, and it
That's
really
what you
pays
need.
off.
Speaking of stuff like that, are you a fan of Guillermo del Toro?
Ben, yes, I am, Ben.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of, as you know, Wilderness is the original place for horror, Michael. And the reason that a lot of these things are set in forest is because once upon a time we would tell those stories so children wouldn't go into the forest and get eaten by real things like bears or wolves.
Tigers.
One of the original horror stories is by a man called Nathaniel Hawthorne, all the way over in the beginning of that America, in the original colonies. And Crypt TV is no different, Michael. It's a big fan of the unexplained mysteries of the wilderness. So there's 2 I'm going to point out here that kind of follow a Guillermo del Toro kind of creature design thing. One of them is called The Birch. If anyone out there is a huge Guillermo del Toro fan or loves creature design or costume design or anything like that, go watch The Birch. The Birch is about kind of a nature goddess that takes vengeance on things.
Good. Classic.
Not particularly fascinating concept, but just wonderful execution. Just a really off-putting creature, nicely done. And another weird one that That's very unsettling. You and I have talked about the Wendigo before, Michael. The Wendigo.
Yes, or the Wendigo.
Yes. The Crypt TV has their own version of it called Mordio. And if you've ever wondered what it looks like when someone turns into a flesh-eating monster of the wilderness, go check out Mordio. It's bloody
or
unsettling.
season 1 of Supernatural.
Or season 1 of Supernatural, which isn't as good as Mordio, to be honest. Mordio is just a very unsettling look at how far human beings will be pushed. I think one of the things that probably makes them so effective is they happen in the daytime, Michael, and that kind of rings true with your idea of the very familiar normal setting, because it's very easy to set something at night and have a couple of fucking rocky pathways, but during the daytime and still managing to scare the shit out of me is just awful, Michael. It shouldn't happen.
Although, we are recording this at 20 past 11 in the morning, Ben, and you are quite scared now.
It's pitch black in my apartment, Michael. Go away. Leave me alone. What are you talking about? Look at my apartment. Look at this.
Speaking of GDT,
Go on.
which I just guessed at, and I think I got right. It is right, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of GDT, did you watch the original short of Mama?
I did not get around to
Mama.
I didn't get around to Mama.
Mama is another one that became a movie, and the movie was fine, not spectacular, but the short is quite good. It's about two girls who are afraid that their mama is back, and we're left wondering what's going on, and it's a very... there's a lot more guile in Mama. It's by, what's his name? I wrote it down somewhere. Andres Muschietti. He's Argentinian, but he has an Italian name, so I don't know how to pronounce it. But there's a lot more guile in it. There's a lot more professional-looking camera work.
Okay.
As opposed to, say, Lights Out, which is very static by necessity because it has split screen.
Yeah, fair enough.
Or the Smiling Man, which is a very simple long shots.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more panning camera. The sound work on Mama is very good as well. It's a classic horror, strings, and what really set it apart though was the effect of the ghost.
Nice.
And again, it was another amazing physical performance with they've got an actor who has kind of lagged her way onto the screen in the now classic kind of deformed monster jittery movement way. But it's pretty old, that short, and if you look at it now, it looks like a Snapchat filter. The way the monster's face is over the Mama character.
That happens.
It's still good. It's still good, but I mean, you and I could make that now, Ben.
Now,
if we had sound editing skills.
Yeah, which we don't. Hence the quality of the podcast. But overall, Michael, just some really unsettling stuff. It's been a tough week for me.
Ben, we had some user suggestions. I feel like you're about to wrap it up there.
Go on,
is that where you're going?
User suggestions. Go on.
I'm gonna because we had some short horror shorts. Some short horror shorts sent in by some friends of the podcast.
Horts.
For example, we had the short horror short "I Quit" sent in by a good friend of the podcast, Dr. Stephen J. Cadwell.
Bloody Stephen J. Cadwell was on the podcast this week. Well, he's not on the podcast, but he is in spirit. Go on, tell us all about that one. I really enjoyed that one. That was the little bit of levity that I needed to get through the week, Michael.
There is a little bit of levity.
There's a little bit of levity in that one. I enjoyed it. It certainly made my life easier. Quite a twist, an absurdist twist that I really enjoyed.
The absurdist twist. Look, we're going to spoil the twist, because it's very hard to talk about a 2-minute short without spoiling the twist in it.
Yeah.
But it's about a man who wants to quit his job, and he's preparing his speech he's going to give to his boss, and then he heads off to quit. The boss's office is quite clearly a standard Irish 3-bedroom house. The layout is almost exactly the same as my house.
It was a low budget film.
Yeah, he goes into the boss's office, and the boss is being attacked, Ben. Not by a vampire, Ben, but by a Nosferatu.
A Nosferatu vampire.
Just a bloody Nosferatu, unexpectedly in a film about quitting your job because you hate your boss.
Little known fact, that boss is actually Stephen J. Cadwell.
That is a little known fact. I thought that was quite amusing, Ben. But Dr. Stephen J. Cadwell's YouTube channel, which we'll have a link to as well, because we'll put I Quit in our playlist. He has some other good ones on there, including there's one of them which contains a very nice edit which implies a suicide without showing it. It's very affecting, Ben.
Oh my.
Yeah. You see a gentleman standing over a bridge, and then some cars pass, and when the cars pass, he's gone.
Oh, that's not good.
That's it's horrific. It's a different kind of horrific. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it's a horror short nonetheless. Yeah.
It's
right.
it's a horror short. Look, there's some good work.
Okay, on to Stephen J. Cadwell's full YouTube channel. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking of, happy Halloween in 2 days when you listen to this podcast, or happy Halloween today or tomorrow if you're listening to it on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Or yesterday if you're listening to it on Thursday. Yeah, this is quite absurdist.
Yes,
or happy Halloween a couple of months ago if you find this in December.
Yeah, happy Halloween a year ago for those of you who are now working your way through the very successful YouTube channel of Michael and Benjamin's podcast, YouTubing sensations. Michael and Benjamin. We had humble beginnings too. This little podcast was one of them. And happy Halloween.
That was a bizarre tangent, Ben. Well done.
Anyway, if you think that we've missed any amazing shorts, please.
Oh, we have.
We definitely have. But let us know down below. We'd love to know the ones that scared the bejesus out of you. And just for the fun of it, why do you watch horror movies? What makes you go back to them?
What's wrong with
all
you,
the
you
time?
weirdo?
Is it a habituation? Is it because you came up with a stupid bloody concept for a podcast with your friend? Why do you put yourself through this fucking misery? I'm off to have a scotch, Michael. That's all from us this week, folks. Bye.
All right. Well, wait. Instagram and whatnot, you know.
Oh, yeah,
bye.
sorry. I forgot about that. Yeah. All right. Scotch can wait. We have Instagram, YouTube. Give us a review on iTunes. Let us know how we're doing.
Yeah, do. Give us a review on iTunes. Seriously.
Every little helps. We have stuff up on the YouTube channel. If you want to see costume design from real people who aren't on YouTube, go look at our channel. We do Comic-Cons and stuff like that. Anyway, as always, ladies and gentlemen, see you later and happy Halloween.
Ooh. Was that sufficiently spooky, do you think?
I think so.
Boo! What's that behind you, Ben?